All right, let's go to Rich Sutter now, and I'm not sure where he is. Maybe he's in Lethbridge, Columbus Blue Jackets Pro Scout. Looks like he is. Richie, thanks for hanging on. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I am home. Harvest is done, and the last 2 days has been 24/7. You know what?
I know, and I appreciate you finding the time for us. And by the way, harvest here, same thing. Lickety split, all done for the most part. Nice to see something go right. Let's start here. Max Domi is a Columbus Blue Jacket. I'm a fan of Max. Apparently, Claude Julien is not. How do you feel about the trade?
Well, honestly, Rod, here's a guy that it was basically two guys that were stuck in kind of in a rut with contract situations, both with upside to be second-line players in the National Hockey League. For whatever reason, Ty got caught in a situation in Montreal. You can say it was numbers. You can say other things, but all I know is right now is that here's a guy that has NHL potential to be a number 2 centerman, can skate, can play an engaged game, has skill. He's been traded now twice in the last 3 years. So you hope finally that he will figure it out about the game has to be thought a little bit more throughout his day than what maybe has gone on in the past with him. And he's got to be a more focused individual. And I think that will really help his game get back to where it was 2 years ago. It's a really unique situation because these two guys were teammates in junior. They were golfing together when they got traded. Neither one were answering their phone to their teams, new teams and old teams, for 2 or 3 hours because they were still on the golf course. And then when they started looking at their messages, they found out they're traded for each other. There's a lot of crazy stuff between these two guys. Put it this way. Ty Domi has potential to be a number 2 center. Ty Domi has the ability to be a number 2 center. We feel with our leadership group in Columbus that he's going to be brought into, that his focus will be better. Being traded twice in 3 years will be a lesson for him. He knows our group. We feel very strongly that he's got the potential to come in and find his game that he had 2 years ago and consistently, again, become the 60-point-plus guy that we expect him to be, and we certainly hope that he expects himself to be. Right.
Well, you don't trade non-expendable players, so I know what you're saying. That's the lesson to Max, but he was well on his way in Arizona to be in the face of the franchise. Yes? Yes?
Yeah, he was, but let's be honest, he was young. Mm-hmm. He had a lot to learn. One of my best friends in the world, and who I was a line mate, was the coach in Arizona. The same comments came out of Arizona that came out of Montreal in terms of, Ty needs to be a more focused player. And when Ty's a focused player, Ty is definitely a number 2 center in the National Hockey League.
Well, it was the thing.
This has probably got his attention now, if you really want to know.
Oh, hey, good for you guys, because you're getting a hell of a player. And by the way, I think it took Ty 137 games to score his first NHL goal, and I think it took Max like 7. They're not the same player, So, anyways,
no. Yeah, let's take that right out of the equation. We got a kid here that the upside and the level he can play at and get to is still way above. And we feel we can help him get it there.
So I'm watching the draft, and your general manager names a player. Was it 15 or 17? And the analyst didn't even know who he was. Igor Chainikov from the KHL. Did you see that coming?
No. But again, we put trust in our people. Jarkko Ruutu, who played in the NHL for a long time, our Russian scout. Our people had a handle on this kid for 2 years. I don't know how he went through the draft a year ago. He's a kid that popped in the last 12 months in terms of where everyone thought his game should be at and where his game is started to go to. I think the reason why it came way off the boards is the KHL is 15 games now, in 12 to 15 games into their season. Here's a kid playing on the top team in the league that was close to playing on that team last year as a teenager. Quite frankly, lit it up at the junior level last year. Why he wasn't drafted a year ago is surprising. But here's a kid already at 12 games in the KHL this year. As a teenager, already has 5 goals. Is playing important minutes, playing with good players. We just feel this kid is closer to being NHL ready than anyone else through the back part of the first round that we could have taken. Hey, were there guys out there? I would have taken Ridley Gregg 10 days out of 10 days. But Ridley's probably going to be 2 or 3 years away from playing. I think we're at a point where we need to be focused on getting players that, if you're going to have a high pick, getting players that you feel have a chance to get here quicker. We don't know where all our jobs are going to go as employees of our organizations, whether we're going to be here for another 2 years, 5 years, hopefully 10 years. But my thought process is this. Let's get guys that we can draft, that we can get in here, the chance of getting in here as quick as possible, so we can actually see it when we're here. And that, you can say that's selfishness, but what that is you're not just drafting for the future. You're drafting to try and make your team better as quick as possible. You make moves to make your team better as quick as possible. We feel we're that close right now as an organization. We've got to try and do some things yesterday, the day before, and in the next few days that we think that can get our team that much closer. You look at our group, Rod, when we got beat up by Tampa, Josh Anderson was not in the lineup. Mikhail Grigorenko was not in the lineup. You look at these guys, we've added 2, we feel, important pieces to our middle 6 group up front. We feel we're close that maybe we can make something happen on the back end to add another piece and it's still subtract a piece. We're adding NHL players that we didn't have when we got beat up by the Stanley Cup champion. We're adding players, or have added players that we feel that makes us that much more competitive, that much closer to being in the fight when it counts at next year's playoffs. So with the ability to still hopefully make some more things happen. So yeah, we're doing a lot of things that people are going to question, but that's okay. We know what we have and what we believe we have.
Well, the organization looks very stable from the outside, there's no doubt. And honestly, just because we haven't heard about Igor Chainikov doesn't mean he's a great player. And I also know Mark Gregg was on this show this summer. He counts himself as one of your best friends, or you as one of his best friends. You know what I'm saying, in Lethbridge, so you've known Ridley since he was born. Scott Henbury writes in, by the way. Good morning, Rich. It was great having you at the brewery earlier this week, the VP of Great Western. No wonder you weren't answering your phone. You were getting a tour in the
Monday. I went out to Saskatoon for honestly, it was a quick trip. I called Scott and I said, if I'm coming this time, you got to be there to get me through the brewery. And what a wonderful experience. And God, had I known how to make beer 25 years ago, I might not be sitting here talking to you about hockey players.
I think you did just fine. We've been offered that tour, but we haven't had the tour. Can you take me inside Great Western Brewery? I'm assuming that we'll get it done. What was it like?
Well, the best thing I loved about it was the history. This is one of the old, it was a Molson's brewery. We're going to knock this building down, and just the subtle story about the 16 original employees that put up a fight and said, no, we're not going to let this building get demolished and this company to go away. We're going to start our own. And they went and got the proper banking and the backing. And quite frankly, the story behind it was that Molson's was thrilled to take their money because they said, why demolish something when we can get something out of it? Someone's going to pay us for it. because this place is never going to work anyways. These people aren't smart enough to make it work. And lo and behold, look where it's at years later. And the most coolest story of all was when I did the tour with my son Luke and my wife Rhonda, was that we met the last original employee of the 16 that is still working there, and he was one of the brewmasters. And it was so cool to meet him and listen to his story about how they came about drawing the plan up, how they were laughed at, and lo and behold, where are they at today? It's a pretty awesome story.
I'm glad they made that happen. And Richie, I'm so glad that you made time for us today. His visits are brought to you by Original 16. And Darren, you have a point on all of this?
No, I love how, the video is flawless, but there's one hiccup in the entire interview.
When he mentioned
and
that.
it's the time he mentions Molson's. So I don't know what Scott's got cooking that he can have that kind of control over it. But
well, I mean, and I'm not saying that in a negative way. I don't know if you guys weren't thinking that, but I laugh because how Molson's underestimated the people in Saskatchewan and those employees, and look what they've done with it. And obviously they brought in a great team to help move this company along, and where it's at today speaks volumes about the people, about their support people in Saskatchewan, the farmers, everyone where they buy their product from. It's been a team effort, and keeping Saskatchewan has been a great story.
Yeah, well, I'm going to interject. I think it was a Labatt Brewery, if I can just put that out there. I think it was.
It was Molson's, and it was was Carlin O'Keefe.
You don't argue with a Sutter. I know that for a fact.
He just did the tour.
Well, yeah, he was just there. Okay, gotcha. All right, Richie, thanks again. Keep in touch, and I will be calling.
Yeah. Yes, this next week's going to be very interesting in the hockey world, people. There's a lot of crazy things going on. There's more teams fighting with this cap situation, this flat cap. There's a lot of teams in need, but there's a lot of teams also trying to figure out how to make some things work. And it's going to be very, very interesting in the next 7 to 10 days.
It is fun. It's very exciting, for sure. And good luck with it, by the way. Thanks, Rich.
Hey, take care, guys. Good talking to you.
Our NHL insider, Rich Sutter, with us in our visits with Richie, brought to you by Great Western's Original 16.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.